What's up, guys? Ryan and Matt here. We're going to take a break from sports for a few minutes and address a couple other topics. Just kind of been meaning to do this for a couple of days, and I don't know, just bounce away from the sports topics for a few minutes and talk about real life. Hopefully, somebody can get something out of this, specifically the younger audience, because obviously, if you've seen the title of the show, the whole point is I want to discuss things that I wish older people had told me more when I was younger, as opposed to playing it safe and things like that. Just things I wish I would have known more when I was 18 or 19. I thought I knew everything when I was 18, like most 18-year-olds. Turns out I didn't know shit.
Yeah, no, of course. I feel like everyone's like that. And it is it's true. We actually have real lives also. We're not just DFS junkies, although that is the majority of it.
Right. Sports is pretty much most of the stuff that we do, but there are real life stuff that goes into it already. So again, if you're new to the station, this is mostly a station regarded for sports. If you want more DFS info, press that red button that says subscribe. Thumbs up is always appreciated. So here's something that I feel like every kid probably hears from, mom, dad, aunt, and uncle or something like that. But like most younger people, you take it with kids' gloves, right? You don't really appreciate it. And that is, try whatever you can not to take on massive amounts of debt. And having done sales for most of my life and hearing other people's flip side of it, I'm always hearing it's human nature to think things will be better next month. Oh, I'll pay off my credit card next month. Oh, things will be better when I get my tax return in the spring or whatever it might be. And ultimately that money doesn't always come through. And when it does, it usually gets sidetracked to go to other areas. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I have tons of friends still paying off school loans, 20 years later. I have a friend here and she's a teacher. So she teaches special ed kids. I mean, she does like a real hard job most of them want to do. Her student loans, exactly the same as where they were when she graduated, 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's how my wife is too. It's funny. It kind of struck a chord when you talked about that. Luckily for her, because she's a speech pathologist and deals with a lot of kids underprivileged, and a lot of them have, learning disabilities, et cetera. Luckily for her, she got a scholarship into grad school. If not, we would still be having to deal with that, when I say still, I mean, probably 10 years from now. So your point here about very few things create stress like that, can't really emphasize that enough.
Right. And it's such human nature to think. So when I got out of college, I did like windows and siding sales, and I'd go to people's houses and it was my job to get them. And you did the same thing. Mm-hmm. One call close, commit to this $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 decision. And all the time you'd hear the same thing. At least one or two out of the couple would ever be like, yeah, well, next month will be better. Why is it going to be better? Now we work where we have massive ups and downs in what we do because we're straight commission. And I've been commissioned for most of my life. And
go ahead.
Even during the ups, I'm out of debt, and you'll find yourself having trouble sleeping, hated, and it gets worse as you get older. It very rarely gets better because you have more responsibilities. Now, if you get a real high-paying job, obviously that can help to overcome things like that. But it is probably one of the top sources of stress for Americans. It leads to health issues, and I had the best time at a four-year college. So I don't want to try to talk anybody out of that decision because I would never go back to relive those 5 years. I would love to go back. That was the most fun I could possibly have had for 5 years. But if you're not going to become a doctor or an engineer and you want to do something that doesn't require a four-year education and you're stuck in a situation where you're going to be 50 to 75K in debt, we have massive student loan debt crisis here in America. Maybe that's not the route for you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to tell people what to or not to do, but the world is changing. I mean, certainly for what we do now, we wouldn't have had to go to college. Now, like you said, I wouldn't trade those years, 4.5 for me, for anything in my life. I mean, it's the greatest time from what I remember that I've ever had. But to your point, if it's not financially feasible and you're already thinking about something that might not be, that you might not need a college education for, then I do think it's something to think long and hard about. That being said, if you have the opportunity to go to a university or something like that, do it.
Yeah, if you got a rich mom and dad that'll send you, take that, go, because it is a blast. I'm just saying for some people who have been told their entire life that the only way to get forward in life is to get that four-year education, I can go back and I can rethink, like a lot of my friends make pretty decent livings, more so than I do. So I can take a look at them. And a couple of the guys I know that make really good money, like they didn't finish their four-year school. They were with me and partying every single night. They're doing very well for themselves right now in business. You don't need it necessarily to become successful. And if it's going to saddle you with 15, 20 years of debt, and it's your parents maybe telling you, go in here and do this. You know, it's your life. Make your decisions on your own.
No doubt.
So that's just one thing, man. Trust me, I've gotten myself into credit card debt a couple of different times in my life. And the best feeling in the world is getting yourself out of it. But it is a constant source of stress for months, years, or longer, depending on what your situation is.
This is very true.
All right, next one. So this one's a big one for me, and that is experiences over possessions. If you take a look at what the number one thing that dying people regret, a lot of it is valuing stuff versus spending time with family or going out on experiences. If you just look at the pictures down below, I'm going to tell you this much. When you're 80 years old and you're on your deathbed, what do you think you remember? Your trip to Mexico, your trip to the Bahamas, or some car that you had that put you in massive amounts of debt, or that you spent all your extra income on?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Definitely the trip.
Right? For me, this is a big thing. You know, stay out late. When you're young, do whatever you can to have as much fun as possible, because before you know it, you're going to be married with kids, and it's going to feel like, no, I'm still a ways away from that. And then the next thing you know, that night going out to a bar, you meet a girl, and then it's 2 months later and like, oh, I'm having fun. Then, you know, all of a sudden you're proposing, and then the kids are out and you got a job and you're working 9 to 5 and you wouldn't have seen half the things you've ever seen. You ever seen the movie Yes Man?
I have not.
Okay. So the whole idea around it is Jim Carrey's character is really boring, and some girl broke his heart. He doesn't do anything, but he goes to the seminar and he's required to say yes. So he starts saying yes to all sorts of new adventures. Like, get out and do as much as you possibly can while you're younger, because once you get into the point of having kids and being stuck with working 40, 56 hours a week, you just don't have as many opportunities to make the memories you used to.
Definitely. I feel like you're telling this to me even still right now. You get old before you know it. I mean, it seems like yesterday I was in college and, you know, living in Colorado for a while. Now, you know, I don't have kids yet, but I'm married, been married for a long time already now. It goes by a lot faster than you think it will. There's no doubt about that.
Man, when I went to school out in Minneapolis, I can remember my parents coming up, and I was probably 22 at the time, 23, just getting out of school. And I still hadn't had like a real serious long-term girlfriend. I had my fun back in the day as opposed to settling down with one woman. And my mom and dad telling me, you know what, you know, you feel like you're going to be able to go out and have fun forever. They go, the next thing you know, like your friends are going to be off into relationships. I'll be going out Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays to turn out to once a week. And they're like, maybe, you know, you have to at least start considering taking things a little bit more serious. And that happened really, really quickly, because those couple of years between that and when I met my wife, man, it flew by. So do what you can to get out and experience life a little bit more. I'm glad that I traveled a lot when I was younger, because now that we have a 10 and a 5-year-old, like, I've only taken a few vacations over the last 6 or 7 years, and it sucks. We went down to New Orleans a couple of years ago, went to Vegas, we went to Jamaica on our honeymoon, but, you know, went from traveling once or twice a year to we're lucky if we take a vacation every year, like lucky.
Yeah, and it's important to do that to kind of spice things up and get out a little bit. So definitely your points are well taken. Yeah, for me, it's funny. All my high school friends now, you know, we got married not before, not after any of them, like around when all of them did, probably before most of them. And now, because my wife is so young, you know, she's not even 30 yet, and I'm 34. A lot of my friends are either, almost all my high school friends are either, you know, pregnant, or their you know, their wives are pregnant, or they've already had their first kid, and we're lagging behind. And I feel the pressure for sure.
Yeah, it'd be a lot different if she was 34 and you were sub 32. But you know, enjoy the last little bit when you can. And I would encourage you, Matt, I don't mind taking the full write-up and doing all the videos for a week if you and the missus want to get out of town for a little bit, because it's important to do that while you still can. Yeah,
my biggest problem is, you know, I love spending time with my wife. I love spending time with my dog, and I love spending time with you. But after that, I don't really like anyone else.
Still, get out and have some fun. All right, next up. So this one kind of speaks directly from us, because we're both kind of doing something right now. And I feel like you're probably a lot like I was. When I first got out of school, you know, I bounced around from sales job to sales job, you know. And why did I get into sales? Because I knew you could make a lot of money doing it. But there was nothing about any of the jobs that I liked that I really enjoyed. You know, kind of bounced around a year here, 2 years here, 4 years here, and stuff like that. And I want to encourage, is, you know, if I can get through to one 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, figure out what the hell it is you want to do in life. Find your passion and make a career out of it. And this can go from a multitude of reasons. Now, for us, we're not making the world better, right? I mean, we'd love to help people win money playing DFS, but there's nothing about what we're doing that would be considered God's work over here. But fortunately, it's something that we love to do, and there is the hypothetical situation where you can make a decent amount of money doing it. But it could be something you love to do, making money. Otherwise, it could just be something that maybe you're not making a lot of money, but you're doing something that makes you feel good. I brought up that lady that I'm good friends with, I've known since high school, and she teaches special ed kids. That doesn't pay well, but you want to know what? She can come home after work every single day and feel better about who she is as a human being, knowing that she's helping people. I would never have the patience to do that. So I look at people like that and I feel like they're really, they're helping make the world a better place. And there are times I think that'd be super cool to have a job like that. So find something you're passionate about and make that your life. Don't just go into selling insurance because it's a stable, steady job. If that sounds awful to you, that's not something you want to do for the next 40, 50 years of your life.
And when you like something, you're better at it. So for me, I'm not even sure how much we even got into this, but as you brought up, we used to both sell windows. I did it right when I moved out to Colorado after I graduated college. And I was good at selling windows. I feel like we both know what it takes to do that. And right away, it was something I picked up immediately and was good at it. It paid really well. I was also very lazy about it. And because it was a commission job, I would call in sick whenever I felt like it. And I would go out late and party and then not work the next day because what were they going to do? Fire me? No chance, because I was a commission worker. And I could
you also knew you could make $2,000 on a Saturday and you could slack for 5 or 6 days and then make it all back in a day or two, right?
Exactly. You know how it is. But, if I wanted to call in sick, call in sick. If I didn't want to show up, didn't show up. How many times do we call in sick now? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen.
Never. I have to tell you when you don't feel well, Matt, just leave me alone and let me get this work done. You don't feel well, take a couple of days because it is totally different. In your average day back in the day, and I've had office sales jobs, outside sales jobs, in a given day, you might really do 3-4 hours of work maximum. Now, I can't even tell you the last day. My days off, I do 3 or 4 hours of work. Why? Because I like it. And this shit is so much easier when you're young and you're not trying to man, I tell you, there's a lot of stress that goes with this because you don't know where your next dollar is coming from. And I got kids. It's one thing if I can't eat, when I used to play poker for a living, if I lost all of my bankroll and had to wait on my next paycheck to try to ramp back up, I can live off of ramen noodles or my friends will buy me dinner for a day. Right now, if my kids can't eat, I'm just a piece of shit father at that point.
Yeah, the pressure definitely mounts up when you got other people that you're taking control of, that you have to take care of, I should say. And yeah, man, it's and for me personally, I'm not sure. I probably had more of an issue with this than you did, but motivation was always an issue with me. I never, or not never, but I often found myself not motivated enough because, like you said, could make 2 or 3 or 4 grand on a Saturday. I mean, that was fine for me. I didn't really care about making that much more than that at that time. I wasn't living a extravagant lifestyle. I was going out partying. You know what I mean? So now that doing something that I love, the motivation is there on a daily basis. And I get pissed when I'm not doing stuff with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, it's your parents' responsibility to get you into a position where you're going to be comfortable and life isn't going to be stressful. So they're going to often, push you into areas that make them feel safer about your future and things like that.
Definitely.
And I get that. I'm a parent. I completely understand where that comes from. But, I got a girl that I was friends with in college and, 5 or 6 years ago, she owned her own law firm, which, I don't know what kind of income she had, but when you own your own law firm, it sounds like a place you're probably doing pretty well for money and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think people do that for free.
No, exactly. She's probably doing fairly well for herself. But I can remember every social media post I ever saw from her was nothing but negativity, stress. She seemed like one of the more miserable people that, I could imagine, everything. Oh, I just took 2 days off of work and now I have 198 emails to respond to. That sounds awful. I got 32 emails I need to respond to right now. And that sounds like a lot of, something I don't want to deal with. And my subject matter is more interesting than hers. So she quit, she sold her practice, and now she teaches yoga. I don't know how much yoga teachers make, but I can say with pretty good confidence, it's not what people who own their law firm. But you want to know what? Money ain't everything, because now she seems genuinely happy. All of her posts on social media about loving her kids and being happy, and pictures of her being outdoors and stuff like that. She probably has half, if not less than the income she used to, but she seems like a million times happier.
Yeah, you can't say that story enough, too many times, in my opinion.
I don't know, and I don't talk to her a ton. I'm trying to base this off of social media presence, but she generally seems like a happy person, where she seemed really miserable before.
That's all it is, too. It doesn't really matter that you don't talk to her more than that, because the impression, perception is reality. So if you think that, how many other people think that?
right? And another guy I went to high school with, I've mentioned this one before too. He owns his own fishing charter company. Now, I don't know how lucrative that is. You know, I don't know what couples pay to go out there. I imagine he's not poor or anything like that, but I'm sure it's not, you know, owning a Fortune 500 company. But I'll tell you what, man, this guy seems to generally love what he's doing. He seems very, very happy as well because he does something he cares about. I'm not big into fishing, but I'm sure plenty of you dudes out there are. Imagine just going out and fishing every single day. You know, make that happen.
Definitely. And there's always dreams to be bigger too. Like, I know when you're doing something you love, it's easy to do the day-by-day stuff. Like, of course, someday I hope that, you know, we do something that hits it big and we make it and we get bought out for however many millions of dollars. But if that doesn't happen, I'm happy doing this every day.
Amen. All right, next up. So this is one where we'll probably have a slightly difference of opinion on, and that is trying to educate yourself on the politics. Now, this is where this goes for everybody, whether you lean heavily right or left. I don't really care right now. This isn't about what you should decide. It's about actually looking into things and understanding what politics is. I'm not talking about the horse race. I'm not talking about Clinton versus Trump or things like that, because you're free to make your own decisions. What I'm talking about is the government is going to take a large percentage of your paycheck. Under any circumstance, all first world nations are going to have some version of government. It's just part of what it is. Educate yourself on where your money is going. And there's a million topics out there that can be, you know, hot button points for you. That's up to you for you to decide what it is that's important to you. But whether it's healthcare, income inequality, student loan debt, our roads and our infrastructure, the military, and all the things that go along with it. This is what I talk about when I talk politics. Everything is politics, not just Democrats versus Republicans. I mean, all these taxes that people pay, all this money that comes out of your paycheck, it has to go to do something. And find out, you know, who actually votes for what. Politicians, a large percentage of them, I think we all would agree, whether we lean heavily right, heavily left, or somewhere in the middle, a large percentage of them, they're professional bullshitters, right? I mean, Matt, you don't follow politics closely, but I think you probably believe that part, right?
No doubt about it. And I just want to be clear. The difference here isn't that I don't think people should, you know, educate themselves on it. It's that I just am not I'm just not as educated as I'd like to be on it.
And that's where I kind of feel like I give a unique perspective because, you know, you're a handful of years younger than I am. And, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't care. Didn't care at all. Didn't know anything. Barely knew the difference between what right and left was as far as, you know, from a political spectrum. You know, I may not have been able to answer the question correctly. It was a while ago, so I can't remember, but I may have not known. Since then, I've become significantly more interested in it. And I think it's important for people to develop, you know, a view and have a point of view on this stuff so you can know what it is you're voting for. My wife and I have had a long-standing argument on this one, and she says it's important for everybody to vote. I say, kind of. I think it's important for people to know who to vote for. You know, what aligns with what you believe. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. That's your personal opinion. I just want to encourage people to really dive in and look deeper into it. If you watch a lot of mainstream media, it's all about the horse race. It's all about who's running for what can they do from a political perspective in order to, you know, try to get the votes next time out. That's not the stuff that I care about. I care about the things that matter to you. Healthcare is a major issue in our country. A lot of people know that. How we fix it and make it better, you know, that's up to your own personal perspective, but look into it, read more about it, watch more videos on it.
Amen.
All right. Next up, last one for the day. I know that you as a gambler can definitely get on board with this one. Take chances and be bold. And this goes back to a point I brought up earlier, and that is, it's not your mom's job or your dad's job to tell you to be bold. That's harder for them. It's harder to tell other people to be bold, especially when it's your own kids. But I'll make the point, you know who gets the hot girl? It's the guys who go for it. And I'm saying that because most of the people listening to this are going to be dudes. And you know who gets the high paying jobs? The kind of people that are going to go for it. Most cool things in life, most good stuff, it's going to go to people who are willing to put themselves out there and not be scared of failure. Failure happens. And, you know, having done sales, Matt, I'm sure you can agree with this. You know, the thing about rejection, it's not that bad. It maybe hurts the first couple of times, but after that, you get used to it and you just keep out there and keep going trying.
Definitely. That's one thing I don't have too many regrets on because I feel I've been that way for a while. And it's definitely something that I think has helped me. I'm sure it's hurt me in a lot of ways, but like you said, the worst that can happen is you get a no. I've had many more good experiences by being bold and being out there than I have by not. You know, your first point, who gets the hot girl? Those who go for it. Girls want someone who's confident. For all, you know, younger people out there, go for it. That's all I can tell you.
Who hasn't been walking through a mall? Okay, maybe you younger people have never been to a mall because you buy everything online, but who hasn't been walking through Target or a restaurant and you've been like, how the hell did that guy get that girl? You want to know how? Yeah, maybe he's got a lot of money. The other thing is he probably tried. And a lot of girls who are real good looking, not a lot of people are trying because they're scared, but you can at least give it a swing. I'd rather go down swinging than not trying at all. And I can remember being younger and you don't go for it as much as you would have. You'll have more regrets later in life because you didn't take a chance. You know, if you want to make $1 million a year, it ain't going to happen by going and working for $15 an hour somewhere. Now, if you're happy with that, to each his own. Everybody's life is what their decisions want to make it to be. But the guys who are tossing money around, like the guy in the corner, they made the decisions. They took some chances on themselves. And I think more people would be better served by being bold with their choices. And if things don't work out, look, man, I've been flat broke plenty of times in my life. You can bounce back.
No doubt. There's so many stories I could say about how being confident has helped me throughout the years. There's just no doubt about it.
It's harder for your parents. You see the last point I put on there. You know, it's easy. Like I can remember growing up, my parents be like, "Oh, you're good at math. You should be an engineer, or you could, sell insurance, or you could do this." Like that's all boring to me. They all probably pay very well. They're very consistent and they're very safe. But your parents, they want you to be happy and they want you to feel secure. And it's easier for them to tell you to do things like that. And I've been trying to instill in my kids, I'm like, I just want you to find something that you care about and something that you feel you can be good at that's going to make you happy. Now, if you're not making a lot of money, but you're happy, I'm okay with that. And if you find something you're great at and you're making tons of money, I'm cool with that too, because I don't have to support you at all either, which is great. But like, go out there, find something that you're passionate about, take chances, do something that a lot of other people would be scared to do. And I don't know, I just feel like that's the way to live life. That's my own personal opinion, at least.
No doubt. Same.
All right, guys. Thought we'd take a few minutes today, talk about some non-sports related stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it, but we got to get back to grinding out basketball stuff. Have yourself a good day, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.